won't win if we're cautious. I can tell you that right now. You're going to have to let it rip and be as physical as you can be, but cut down on the mistakes. If something bad happens, we'll weather that storm. Just stay the course. Be confident, be aggressive, and take it to them. We're 11 games in, and what did I tell you, 55 practices. We know everything we need to know. Just play football. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. You're in a playoff game. A lot of guys are sitting at home tonight. Good for you. I'm not ready to be done, are you?
No.
Hell no. Let's go.
Yeah!
All right, are we doing this?
I think we're doing this.
Okay, so that was Coach Gary Swinson, and we appreciate him because of all the relationships that we do have with the coaches in the Iowa Football Coaches Association. We get that access. David Bingham.
Jon Schaeffer.
Yeah, we also work here at Bing Bang. So this is the Bing Bang download Dome style.
Dome download.
Yeah, Dome download.
Dome download.
Let's call it Dome download, Dome Dynasty style.
Yeah.
We have some great sponsors that we're going to be bringing along, and so we hope you can join us. So cue the graphic. If you need good marketing stuff and you need to be part of this podcast or any future content podcast,
you better call Mel.
Call Mel. Better call Mel. That's the information. That's what you need to know. So, I think 1983, John, was the first time I went to the UNI-Dome. My coach, my high school football coach, Coach Danks, who played at Central College, under the legendary Ron Skipper, who a lot of these coaches, when you look at the tree, that's where they came from. So we'll have some total quality coaching moments brought to you by Total Quality Landscape. Good friend of mine, Charlie Husek, amazing guy. So we get a lot of those moments in the Dome. 21 games. We'll mic up a lot of coaches, and we'll bring those to you after the championship.
Access you don't get anywhere else.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you get those moments. We'll see more from Gary.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Coming up.
Plenty more from Gary Swinson.
Coming up here later. But as you know, before we get into the football, I think I work here a little bit. You've been here a long time. We both we got, Caleb and Parker out there who are part of our sportsy content guys. But, we got here through sports, and we were lucky enough and blessed enough to be in the sports arena. And I think being on TV and being in sports was fun, but it was tough because you ended up having a family, right? And you chose to, and because of my brother and the opportunities at this content place, you ended up here. But you still like to do sports. You like to comment on it. You like to have an opinion. You like to have an opinion.
Who doesn't have an opinion?
I have none. I'm just here to promote and do the positive.
No. I mean, you look back, and you're the one that I walked into Channel 5 WOI, and Friday Night Blitz was a thing back then. Obviously you and John Walters helped get that off the ground way back when. But, I mean, it's walked in, had no idea what was going to happen that Friday night, and you and your brother were right there shooting. And
if you weren't from Iowa, I'd probably have been like, you're on your own, coach.
Hey, we made it happen. As a Roosevelt guy, no, we never got to the Dome in my eras. I can promise you that.
Randy Duncan had maybe one of the best teams, though, back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Before the Dome was
a thing, yes, 100%. But had plenty of moments up at the Dome. Got to know a lot of these coaches, too. Obviously, stopped and said hi to Gary on Friday when they took on Waukee. We'll break it all down, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, A. Yeah. Player.
I mean, we're going to do every one of them. Some of the people joining us are not only Total Quality, and I mentioned Charlie, but Midwest Wheel. We're going to do a Midwest Wheeler of the Day, like the play of the day up at the Dome.
Oh, boy.
And so we'll show you some from earlier this year, maybe a highlight from Gordon, but also when we talk about our Player of the Year stuff, we'll maybe go back and show you like our Aiden Hall from last year, and Midwest Wheel, a great sponsor, and then Wyckoff Heating and Cooling also be part of our Ed Thomas Faith family. They're big on those coaching moments, and we'll talk a little bit about Coach Thomas and the Iowa Football Coaches Association, and Murphy Towers High Flyer. We're going to show you the best play, and then the one that we'll probably show from last week's game that we were at, Valley Waukee.
Oh, yeah.
And so we bring you those. Iowa Radiology and Hy-Vee have been a part of Dome Dynasty for the last couple of years, so we appreciate them sponsoring what we do. But before we break them down, anything else about Bing Bang that, besides solve, create, deliver?
Drone work, storytelling.
The drone stuff, we get it on social media last week.
We got it on social.
Yeah, we do drone. We're good at that.
Yeah, Solve, Create, Deliver is kind of our model for things for our clients, but we consider ourselves one of the best storytelling groups in the state, and if not the region, and some great client managers on board. You'll hear from some of those folks. You'll hear from some of our content creators. We've got people with opinions on Valley, Southeast Polk, couple of alumni from there that they're willing to put their neck on the line and risk it all.
Yeah,
so.
I think the great thing that when I first was doing TV, I still did radio. So in order to do radio, you had to have kind of an opinion, but I was never trying to be false. But I just don't like predictions. Because, I mean, you look at every CIML football
You're not a
coach.
sports bettor then, are you?
No, and then that's another avenue. Dana's in here now. She's going to come in, and we're going to start getting all the apps, this gambling
Just
apps
lock
for
it
you
in,
guys, because everybody's doing it.
I mean, I've got all of them on my phone.
Caleb
if you need
in,
them.
in our morning meeting was talking about some parlay, so maybe he should stop. But, so that should be something. But predictions are tough for me because when you do, every CIML football coaches I consider a really good friend. And I was a little ornery week 1 because I knew I was going to talk to Brad Zelenovich in week 2.
Yeah.
So when Valley played Dowling, maybe it was week 3, I was like, well, maybe the best 2 teams in the state of Iowa. I said it on the Blitz.
Yeah.
Knowing that I would see him, and I was just having fun with it. But I really stay away from predictions, but people like those. And so for the kids out there, for the youngins, we're going to let Caleb and Parker take a shot. Do you want to get into the brackets, though, right away?
Yeah, let's talk brackets. Let's open it up with 8-player.
How about our team and the brackets they created in Total Quality, who's also going to be part of those coaching moments. They helped create some of the scoreboards as we go into Class A. You got your Class A stuff. Hey, I did some.
Are we going Class A right away, or are we going Class 8-player?
Or 8-player. I did some research. What do you think? What do you think of our graphics?
I mean, first off, the graphics look sharp. I'm not going to give credit to who created those. I know who created them. He deserves all the credit in the world. Nice work on that. Wednesday's a quick one, I'd say. A lot of scoring expected out there. Just 2 games with that 8-player matchup, starting with Bishop Garrigan and Winfield Mountain Union. And Bishop Garrigan, I mean, sophomore quarterback versus a senior QB in this one, right?
Yeah. And this Buffington guy, I haven't seen him on tape. I hear the kid from Winfield's like the real deal. Like, we're talking stud.
8-player is a blast already. If you haven't watched 8-player football, I highly encourage it. It's some of the best football you'll see. Get creative. A lot of coaches do. And, you get some old school guys that want to run wing T in an 8-player formation and stuff like that too.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to see. And sometimes one injury can change it too. But sometimes you get those teams that are so thick with talent they got 12 to 14 superstar players, like kids that could play quarterback, running back, and they have to play line. And, Gladbrook Rhinebeck has the 2 titles in 11-player in 15 and 16. Bedford was a 11-player championship back in 1996, 19 and 92. Bob McCoy, one of the greatest coaches in Iowa high school football history. Coach Jeremy Nolly, and there's like 15 Nollies on the roster.
Boy.
There's 2 coaches. There's a bunch of players.
Seems to be the MO in 8-player, right?
It's the Nolly Express. So I don't know. We'll hear some wisdom from Shelby right now if she's going to do it. If not, we'll move on to Class A.
All right, let's move on to Class A then.
What was your take, with Mathewson having played at Madrid and played under the legendary coach Randy Hinkle, who we lost tragically, and I miss him dearly, but his son Brock now
at the helm
has really got that going, and they had a heck of a matchup this weekend.
Yeah, and he was a Grandview kid too, if I remember right. Brock played over there at Grandview under the Woodleys, and I think that's just a fun matchup. It was a close game. Mathewson's done a great job getting ACGC back to up some prominence out there.
Great name. Who names their school after?
The Chargers.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the Tigers, to see them going 11-0 this year, I mean, the last couple of years I was in TV, they had their struggles, and you could tell Brock was just trying to get the foundational stuff kind of re-implemented. They went through some years after you losing like a Michael Santee, who was a stud running back then. But just the one championship in 91, I'm sure Brock would love to match his dad and get one here. And so we'll see what happens. And then on the other side, though, you got West Hancock, who's got 4 titles under their belt, including 2 trips in the last 4 years, 19 and 21, might take out the COVID year, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and of course, both of these young men following in their father's footsteps. Bob Sanger, one of the all-times, one of those central products we talked about too, and we just lost him the last couple of years too. But yeah, they are not going to surprise you. They are going to run at you, and you have to stop them, and that's kind of the way Madrid is. This will be a wake-up call. Preston Wicker's been fun when you talked about Madrid a little bit. Yeah. He's kind of their guy, dual threat, runs the ball really well. When they do throw, he will throw it. On the other side, East Buck's been there. I have to wonder how good Woodbury Central is. They beat Logan Magnolia 35-0.
You got to score points to win a football game, and
35
apparently
zip.
no one can score on Woodbury Central.
Got a dual threat, 35 touchdowns, and Drew Klinder. So, yeah.
1980 champs. No titles for the Bucks?
Nope.
So they're trying to get their first one ever. You know, they'll be motivated. But
Absolutely.
Experience is everything.
Hopefully you
for
have your
that group,
glasses
isn't
on
it?
this research.
Yeah, what'd you do to my
Well, I
my
don't know. There was
formatting
just
here?
a lot of information, John.
No, you're good. Grundy Center played a close one against Columbus Catholic. It was a tight one.
21-14, and you look at all the Spartans' other scores, and they're just rolling people.
Yeah.
So very interesting, and they beat Dyke. Maybe they're getting better. I don't know, but if anybody's going to have a shot at the Spartans, it's going to be the Sailors from Waterloo, Columbus.
Well, in Underwood, I mean, don't discount Underwood. The Eagles tend to be a competitive team. I mean, they beat up on who was it, Regina, to get to the championship, or was that MFL?
Yeah.
That got to the title game with a 22-7 win over Regina. So that's always, I mean, Regina's a good team perennially.
Yeah, I really thought that Regina, West Branch, Wilton bracket would produce somebody in the Dome, and they didn't. So MFL Marmac playing really well. Anybody that comes out of South West Iowa, whether it's Underwood or whoever, is usually tough. So,
and Underwood beating OABCIG. I mean, the alphabet soup there is
they don't
always
have
a
any
tough out,
Dejeans
too.
left, but they're still good.
Yeah, absolutely.
1A will be fun. Those games will be on Friday, 10 and 1.
And you're probably wondering, where's the Van Meter? Where are they at? Don't worry, we're going to talk about them next, because in Class 2A, the Bulldogs get to take on Monticello.
Still unbeaten. You know, 2 unbeatens in this class, and it's kind of been talked about.
Yeah.
You know, that Van Meter and Central Lyon are on a collision course, but Monticello's got one of those underrated players, one of the best in the state. You're talking Preston Reese. He's thrown for almost 2,000 yards. He runs. He's set a lot of career marks with what he's done, but I don't know. I've seen, you know, I can't even tell you this Van Meter information, John. I mean,
the Ben Gordon running back, I mean, he's a stud. He's got almost 1,900 yards on the season, and, you know, he can catch passes out of the backfield too. Just 188 runs, but he's got almost 1,900 yards.
10 of the last 11 years they've been at the Dome. They've had 3 titles, back-to-back champs. They are 124-12 in that span. This is Harlan-esque, and in their last 9 years, they're 105-7.
Jeez.
This is Marv Cook, Tom Wilson, Kurt Blatt territory in those runs. So Monticello, be interesting. They'll have score a lot of points. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
The other side, Spirit Lake championship a couple years ago, but Central Lyon George Little Rock has that. Curtis Eben at the head coach, and they've got Reese Vanderzee, another Hawkeye recruit, just a lot like Zach Lutmer. I got this guy.
Right.
Yeah, that'll be a slobber knocker.
It's going to be a fun one. I just, you wonder if Spirit Lake can keep pace, but if not the end of the world, because your championship game is going to be a fun one regardless. Let's bounce it up to Class 3A now, and Bishop Heelan taking on an undefeated Creston team.
What the heck? Are they
Creston
the story
is running it.
Are they the story of the season, really?
They've got to be, don't they?
I mean, they've always been a decent program. I don't think they've, in my lifetime, been to the Dome, so I don't have a championship. Brian Morrison crew. This Cale Turner, I've only seen some tape on him.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like he's just an athlete, just like a little bit like Aiden Flora.
Sometimes you get a kid that just puts a team on his back.
Like a receiver last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gaudy. 2,700 yards. He leads the state.
It's wild. I mean, but Bishop Heelan's been there too. I mean, that's the thing, right? You don't have experience in the Dome. Your eyes get a little big, and sometimes kids get the nerves going a little bit, or a little bit too much juice, and not quite sure how to handle it all. But I think, Creston's got to be the Cinderella of the season so far. Like, I mean, you look at their past, and really hasn't been this successful ever. So.
I love these consistent, good football programs that haven't made this run in a while, because when you look at Solon, Williamsburg, Bishop, Heelan, they're going to be there, and so it's cool to see Creston there. Williamsburg and Solon will just be an absolute dogfight. 21-14, Solon got them earlier in the year. I don't know.
They might beat each other up so bad they won't be ready for championship, huh?
Solon has the 5 titles. Williamsburg, Kurt Ritchie and the boys have been so close so many times. They got some great players, so that's wide open. Once again, 3A with this expansion into 5A.
Yeah.
These 3A, 4A classes are interesting to see.
Very much.
What do you know a little bit about 4A, John?
4A. So North Polk here. Coach TeBrink has done a great job this year. I know Tim really well, but North Polk is a team that's kind of been on the cusp. They've had some ups, they've had some downs, but they're going to run into a Lewis Central team that knocked off ADM. Granted, not a full-strength ADM team, but Lewis Central always, 21 championships or 21, they were the champs last year, right? And
Yep.
so, or runner-up last year, 21 champs.
Yep.
And then Bonnaroo Farrar, Titus Cram, kid's a stud.
Gone.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
But then they get another kid that steps in and doesn't have any problem with it, and Caleb Moore.
Yeah, this is what I was asking you. I mean, I didn't get to see them except in person when Cram was playing the Wildcat.
Yeah.
And they had another great wide receiver who also is injured. I don't even remember Caleb Moore doing that much work, but last week in their win, 28 carries, 242 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So Zach Fonts, they answered the bell in that win last week. I don't know what he did, but they were ready for Glenwood. 31-21 was the final.
And I would argue maybe Bonnaroo Farrar might have had the easiest road out of the 4 Dome teams, just because I saw Glenwood play earlier this year against Winterset.
Yep.
Thought they were a good team. They weren't barn burners to me by any stretch of the imagination. So, for Caleb Moore to break out on the ground game like that is pretty impressive, but will he be able to do it against Western Dubuque, who's only got 1 loss on the season? They beat a really tough North Scott team 21-7, so we'll see how that one kind of shakes out.
Justin Penner is a fun guy. And this Grant Glosser, 2,700 all-purpose yards, and I think he drives the bus. I think he is a nasty human being, and I think he'll be fun to watch at the Dome. They were the 19 champs. They've won it twice. Look out for Epworth, Western Dubuque. Always tough.
Bonnaroo Farrar's never been to the Dome either.
Nope.
So a couple of fun matchups there in 4A. Finally 5A.
Oh, my gosh.
We were at the same game on 5A, right?
Yeah, we were, and it's fun. We'll show you some more coming out of the break of Coach Swinson. Obviously, we'll have a ton more stuff from the Dome, and we'll show you some stuff from previous in the year. But just talking with Gary a couple of weeks ago, I was giving him a hard time. I'm like, you're probably going to win at Pleasant Valley. And he's like, well, they're a good football team. But
the typical Gary Swinson.
But it would be interesting to see. I think physically up front, they've kind of had the tools all year. And it's really hard for young kids to lose a dynamic player.
Yeah.
Like the player that they lost to start the season in Zay. And then to have a couple quarterback changes.
Yeah.
So to be 1-5.
Yeah. The DeGroot kid looked solid, though, last week against Waukee. I got to say that running game might be one of the best two-headed monsters I've seen.
They're tough human beings, right?
Between Mason and Damon Head. I mean, those two guys know how to hold it down. And so that'll be a fun matchup against Southeast Polk. Don't discount the Tigers. Fun fact, Gary Swenson's 2 wins away from 400 career wins. So theoretically speaking, if he wins out the rest of the season and wins a state title this year, that title would come on win number 400 for him. I know he doesn't really want to talk about that or care to talk about it, but exciting stuff. Then you get a battle of the Ankenees, the split. How many times has this happened now since the split? I feel like a couple times, right?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers on that. I do actually have a lot of the Valley Dowling stuff. I've always kept that in my back pocket from the documentary that we did, and I do have some of that on Ankeny and Ankeny Centennial. But before we move to that, when you look at Polk, they have to be the favorite.
Yeah, 100%. Moberly's just a stud. They've got a great line. They know how to put up points. I mean, you look at how they got here, and really, Cedar Falls gave them a good test, and maybe it was a little bit of a look ahead, but I do think Southeast Polk has been the best team all season long. Nail-biter win over Ankeny a couple weeks ago. Got them as Moberly had to reach over the goal line in, triple overtime or something?
I just think that was an emotional game for both teams to try to move on from.
But I think it shows Southeast Polk how to win close games. And Cedar Falls decided to go for 2, didn't convert on the 2-point conversion. And so Southeast Polk survived last weekend. And so 21-20, the final there. It was an entertaining game from what I've heard.
Boy, if Cedar Falls wins that would have been crazy. But yeah, Swent's going for his 6th title since he's been at Valley. He's won 6 overall. He won 1 at Spencer. But Polk going for the 3-peat. Jerry Pizzetti, all-time winningest coach, 60-some years, 400. He's going to 440-plus wins, going to end up winning 500 before he stops coaching.
Yeah.
And Jeff Bauer in his first year, what a great job he's done. The game, just the first game of the year was so exciting. It went down to the last play, and this one's a toss-up, and a lot of people in Ankeny excited.
Yeah, I think Trenton Smith has the arm to do what he needs to do. Eli Porter's a really solid running back. He's shifty. He hits the hole really well. He's fast. So Centennial's gonna have their hands full. Or Ankeny's going to have their hands full against Centennial. On the other side, though, Ankeny just knows how to play tough football. I think that's one thing they've shown. And to go and beat Dowling last week proves it.
Well, Luke Anderson, and to run the show and just consistently gotten better. Really neat kid, great family. Shout out to Jason and Maggie. But almost 2,000 yards now, 18 touchdowns, and the two playmakers, they've got lots of them. So they are truly a team. I think they've bought into that, going for the school's 4th state championship. So I know now that we're done, we're not predicting anything, but I think our guys.
We're gonna let the boys make some predictions. We're gonna let Caleb and Parker jump in on this one, put their faces behind their money, and put it out there a little bit. But I do think I wouldn't mind throwing one out there really quick. I think Valley beats Southeast Polk.
You're going crazy, yeah. I've heard a couple of my
And I
names.
think Centennial beats Ankeny.
All right, so you're making your predictions. Let's hear from the boys.
Thanks for that cut, Dave. I'm excited because I have my really special work friend here, Caleb. I'm Parker, Southeast Polk graduate, Valley graduate. Caleb's going to kick it off, first off, with the first game, Southeast Polk versus Valley. What's your prediction?
Yeah, so, we've been there, done that. I'm going to go ahead and say it's a three-peat kind of year. Credit to Valley, though. Southeast Polk hasn't looked good last 2 games, minus Linmar, who was a 16 seed. So, I'm sure Valley gives a fight. I'm going to go ahead and final score prediction of 27-17. Not a problem. Not a thought in my head. We're not worried about the dudes on the other side of the river. So,
I'm going to go the exact opposite way. I'm going to be very real. Connor Mobley is not going to do anything. And it's going to bite me, and I'm going to end up on some Barstool account after he throws 5 touchdowns and rushes for 95 yards. And I'm okay with that because it's Roll Tigers all day. Damon Head and Mason are going to run over this defensive line at Southeast Polk, and they're not going to be able to stop it. So my final prediction, 35-14 Valley.
Skep.
I'm just saying. It's going to happen. Next game, Battle of the Ankenys. Ankeny Centennial, who's playing really good, but then Ankeny beat Dowling to make it to the Dome. Yeah. You want me to start? Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Centennial. Centennial's really fun to watch. Ankeny's not fun to watch, and I think what was it, John? What was it? Ankeny won the first time. Is that right? It was the last play of the game, right?
Pretty sure they did.
Yeah. No. Centennial gets their get back. They send Ankeny back home where they're from. And it's going to be a miserable car ride because you got to go all the way down the interstate and you got to see the other car that's going exactly where you're going. Centennial wins this game. I'm going to go 35-28.
Yeah, I think, Centennial did get the win. They look good. But coming off let's look at who they just beat. I think the confidence booster for Ankeny Hawks is much greater than Centennial. Credit to them. Great year. Copying Southeast Polk's uniforms. Got to look like champions, but you're not there yet.
Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for coming out, boys. Maybe next year.
We're going to get it back to Dave and John. I appreciate you guys coming up and can't wait to see the memes on Twitter.
But good luck, everybody.
It feels great. We got 13. We're going for 14. I'm excited. Senior year. We're going to take it day by day next week, and whoever we play, we're going to give it our all, and we're going to hopefully come out with the win. It's crazy. It's so surreal. Growing up, the other day I was actually sent a picture in our group chat. It was all of us in 7th grade. We were sitting at the Dome watching one of the old Harlan teams, and then we're playing in it. So it's just a crazy feeling. It means the world to this town, to me. We're just going to give it our all. I would say it's the culture. We have great coaches. We hold each other accountable. We get after it in the weight room. We just love each other. We'll do anything for each other, and we're just a great team overall.
That was Player of the Year last year, Aiden Hall from Class 3A. He's now an Iowa Hawkeye, tearing things up over there, and pretty special young man. And every year it's pretty special to highlight some of these young men doing great things on the football field.
John, I think for me and you, me especially, after doing it 30 years down there on the field, I always like it when the guys I saw at the Dome do really good for Iowa State, UNI, or Alabama.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But it makes it even special. So, yeah, when Cooper DeJean was a true freshman at Iowa, you're like, yeah, he's good enough to play, and he did. Or Tim Dwight or whatever.
Xavier Nwampa.
But these kids are the ones like Quinn Schulte and some of these kids that come through. So you're Lutmers or Aiden Halls. They're
Yep.
coming down the line for some of these programs. And when I see the guys at Iowa State and Iowa and UNI, I'm like, I just have a little more juice for
Right,
them. So
100%.
So the players of the year are fun, and it's cool that through the Iowa Football Coaches Association and through our relationship, Iowa Radiology and Hy-Vee help us out, and we look at some of those. We've talked about some
Yeah.
of them now,
Yeah.
and so as we look at the Dome reveals some of those.
Mm-hmm.
It stinks, but sometimes that's the thing. Like you don't know if Cooper DeJean's going to be the player of the year, but then down 11 with a minute to go
Goes
against
and
Van
makes some
Meter,
plays.
and
Holy cow.
And then the coaches vote on it last year for the first time with Dome Dynasty and Jesse and Bob and what we've been doing up there for the last 5 years. Abu Sama, with what he did in the championship game, so it just kind of pushed him over the edge as the
100%.
overall player of the year.
Yeah.
So sometimes it becomes pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like the Heisman
for
moment
sure.
they always talk about.
I mean, I had
So it's hard to like project right now, but it's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, not to brag. Like I had a Heisman vote at one point, and it was the best thing ever. At the same time,
How did you get how did you lose that? Did you move?
I moved jobs.
Yeah,
Let's just say
yeah.
I no longer had the clout behind my name that allowed a Heisman. But yeah, it's tough, right? Like season, or do you take it and show just what Dome happened, or is it a combination of both, or what? So
Well, the good thing for us is we use the IFCA to vote on it, and then if there's anything really close, and I think it's getting more and more popular, and we appreciate Hy-Vee and Iowa Radiology joining in. But yeah, when you look at the quarterbacks, we mentioned like the Ben Cooter and some of like the Caden Proctors. There's some great football players, but it's hard to vote for them when they don't have a statistical, unless they just totally, for some reason, go Niall Kinnick or Pat Anger, if you like before some of you were born, probably. But in 2005, 6, 7, I mean, he just dominated. 2007 dominated the Dome as a defensive player.
Right.
So I don't know. I think there's a lot of great candidates out there. You mentioned Moberly. He's going to be in the conversation.
Has to be. I mean, you lead Southeast Polk. They're looking for the three-peat. He's been flawless most of the season. Won a tough game with that sneak against Ankeny. But I do think, can he carry the team to a championship is a question that sits with everybody. So,
and we mentioned the Western Dubuque Glosser, 2,453 yards rushing.
Yeah.
So if he has one of those amazing Dome moments where he has 300-yard games, he's going to be pushing that 3,000. I don't know if he'll get to the 32 all-time best of Brandon Wager, but 28 touchdowns. He's going to be right in there. Jackson Cherry, I've heard, is one of the best football players in the state. I've only seen film from Webster City. Ben Gordon will be playing at the Dome. Preston Reese, we talked about. Aiden Flores now done. Just some great names out there. Some of these will be revealed.
Yep.
It'll be good to see.
And coaches know best. I mean, you said it. You'd love to see more tape on some of these guys. Well, a lot of the coaches that do vote for this have seen the tape.
And then we'll go dig it up and we'll highlight it. So we'll be doing a couple more of the Bing Bang Dome downloads to recap the championship. But that'll be our player of the year. We hope that you guys chime in and give us your opinions. But when we give our Midwest Wheeler play of the day, our best run of the day, as we just showed you one from we'll show you one from maybe Ben Gordon going to break. But we'll try to give you those. Those will reveal some of these players of the year.
Yeah.
And our Wyckoff Heating and Cooling, we'll talk a little bit about the Ed Thomas Award coming up next. But Murphy Tower is going to jump in here too.
Great.
And so this is a great company in central Iowa. They do towers all over. So they're going to do our high flyer, our pass of the game. So for our quarterbacks, we'll have them involved. And before we go, and we do talk about coaches of the year too, that's in this segment.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite? I mean,
favorite all-time coach?
No, this is a Gary Swinson show.
Yeah.
We're going to show him also going out to break with our chance to interview him. In fact, why don't we watch that right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's watch our interview. This was after the game.
Big win against Waukee.
With Coach Swinson, and this is him. Let's have him talk to his players right now.
Man, on October 1st, we were 1-5. Now, that's a testament to you players and these coaches. All right? We've been in the semis 4 of the last 5 years. We've been there before. How about those Tigers?
Coach of the year, we're back, John.
Yep.
That was Swinson. Obviously, he's odds-on favorite here on the podcast because that's the only one we're showing. Anybody else jump in there? Because, I mean, this is the second year in a row where they've kind of, like, had to get it going.
Even like, I mean, is there criteria you got to make it to the Dome? Because I think Gabe Baker did a great job
there
getting
doesn't have to be
Waukee. I mean, you look at what Waukee did this year and the distance he's taken them in their short existence since the split. I mean, it was tough sledding for Waukee for a couple of years there. I think Eric Trudeau should always be in the conversation as Coach of the Year. I mean, Curtis Eben from Central Lyon at 11-0. I mean, they're a dominant team too.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think my odds-on favorite would probably have to be a Hinkle. You know, I think Brock, you know, you think
That's
back.
pretty cool. That's a good idea, yeah.
You think back to what Randy instilled in Madrid and the pride that was carried when you were in the jungle as a Madrid Tiger football player, and now what Brock is doing to kind of reignite that. I know he's been in that role for a little bit now, but it's just been you know, it's not an easy spot. I'm sure there's probably a little bit of pressure on Brock, but to take that team to an 11-0, beat a former teammate in Mathewson, I believe they were teammates or at least knew each other well.
Oh, yeah. They're
And
pretty close.
to beat up on each other last week to get to the Dome and take Madrid back to the Dome is pretty special. So
That's
I think
a
Brock
really-
should be in the running for that one.
That's
for sure.
a really good point. I think for his class, he's going to be a hard one to knock out as the coach of the year. And, you know, even in 5A, you mentioned a couple coaches, but, I mean, Jeff Bauer's in his first year.
Yeah. I mean, look at what Ankeny's doing now, right?
I mean,
so
it's going to be fun. So Swinson, always a candidate here on our podcast on Dome
Gary,
Dynasty. You know, Gary's been so good to us, and we love him. So got a chance to catch up with him after the game. It was kind of fun to try to run the numbers at him. But, you know, it is. As I get older, as Coach Ferentz gets older, as Coach Gary Swinson gets older, sometimes we can get emotional. Let's take a look at the interview. I don't know, this work in progress team you've had the last 2 years has been kind of fun. You know, when you're really good, you can kind of feel it, but I think these have been 2 of your best years of coaching, Gary.
Our kids have just hung in there. It's like I just told them, we were 1-5 on October 1st, and nobody would have predicted this. I mean, if they said I didn't. I thought we could rally. I thought we could get. The key was the Ankeny game. We knew we could win the other 2. We had to get to 4-5. That would get us in. That wasn't the plan. It was just we got beat by teams that were better than we were on that night. The night we played these guys, you know, a month ago, they were a better football team than us. But our kids hung in there and our coaches kept coaching, which, you know.
It's a good deal. It's a great deal. When you look at the process, though, what's been going on the last 2 years? How have you been able to rejuvenate your team when you've had that?
We just got off to a slow start both years. This year we had the quarterback situation, so now we have to get a sophomore that's ready to play. You know, that just takes time. I mean, you look at who made big plays tonight. We had sophomores and juniors, and those kids are coming of age, and I think they're playing very well.
I'm not going to talk about all the numbers. We reminisced a little bit before the game. 50 years you decided to be doing this, and my goodness, I'm telling you now, we're not talking about winning 2 more. I know you got to win 1 more, but that'd be 400. Man, geez.
It's a number.
How much fun you having?
Well, I would, if I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't keep doing this.
Yeah. We enjoy it.
Yeah, we do too.
Get ready. We'll see you at the Dome, huh?
We'll see you there.
Doesn't get any better than this. 8 teams left in the state of Iowa. 2 of the richest traditional programs in the history of football in the state of Iowa playing tonight. Another night that we get to play this game, and another night we've got to go out and prove ourselves. Like we've talked all week, it's going to be who's going to come out and hit who. We're not intimidated coming into this place. They wouldn't be if they were coming to our place tonight.
Jon, of course, had opportunity to know Ed really well. That was the last football game he ever coached.
Yeah.
The Iowa Football Coaches Association came to Jesse and I this year through Dome Dynasty and through our relationship as their exclusive content provider to promote the award. It's the Faith Family Football Award, and they just, you know, young men have to go online to try to get that award. So we've been putting out a lot of content and a lot of interviews, and we'll show you one coming up to end the show with Al Kearns, who was with him forever.
Yeah.
But I just think that and one of their concerns, you know, talking with Coach Wilkin at Newell Fonda and Coach Wilson at Dowling, are really close to them. I just feel like people have forgotten that a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you feel that way?
Maybe a little bit. I think, you know, there's there's a generational detach maybe a little bit of young men who probably don't understand the impact that Ed Thomas truly had. But you look across the state and so many coaches who either coached against or for or with
Played for.
There's so many coaches that have still that impact, and they're still kind of imprinting what Ed Thomas was about on their players, maybe in just a different way. You think of a guy like up at DCG, one of our favorite coaches.
Scotty.
Scotty's been great, and he's one of those guys I interviewed at the 10-year anniversary. You know, I've talked to Aaron, and Aaron's great. I think and Aaron still goes around and does public speaking, and I know Tom Wilson to make sure that Aaron comes in and talks to his team, I think, a little bit about who Ed was. And I think there's no better book for a football player or an athlete or just a person who's foundationally in faith, you know, than the book about Ed Thomas. And so I think, you know, looking into that, it's so critical, and I would love to see more of these high school kids maybe get to know some of that history, and because he was special. Like I never personally had an experience with him, but I've had enough experiences through you and through so many coaches that understand the value of the faith family football.
It's really cool. It's really cool. It took the country, you know, by storm. The whole story was just hardly believable.
Yeah.
And I think people nowadays still don't know, but then will remember and go back. But yeah, we need a whole generation. And I think it speaks. Ed was like, "Where are you from? Doesn't get any better than this." He was an Iowa guy, and that's why him and I were always close, because I was very aligned with that.
Yeah.
And I'm very aligned with wanting to promote football because I think it's a great thing. He put 4 players in the NFL, for those of you that still don't know enough about Coach Thomas. So we'll leave with Al Kearns talking about him a little bit. But I just want to say that, you know, it's not too late to get involved with the Dome download. But you better call Mel. Put the graphic
ASAP.
up. Now, if you need something, you know, solve, you know, create, deliver, with any of your marketing.
Video, photo, website. We do it all.
Drone. Bing Bang is the place to be, and we're really happy with our team here, and we'd like you to join us. Anything that you need. Even if you need a graphic or a drone tomorrow, let us know. Call Mel. Before we leave with that, you know, Midwest Wheel, one of our new clients, you know, anything to do with anything trucks. Most people know the name. You can go to the website. Total Quality. So happy to have Charlie on board, and they're going to be giving us those coaching moments at the Dome, and we'll show them on our next podcast. Wyckoff Heating and Cooling, they're part of this Ed Thomas project to help promote that award, and they're big on supporting coaches. And then Murphy Towers High Flyer, best thing that we're going to see at the Dome through the air. And as we're talking, we're going to be showing you one from the Waukee game. What'd you think? You talked a little bit about Baker. What'd you think of his son?
I thought Beckett played a heck of a game. Tough kid for a sophomore.
This is a good throw to the corner.
Oh, he's got a dime of a throw here. It is a great play. Bright future ahead. Obviously, coach's son a little bit, got some grit to him. Isn't afraid to lower his shoulder on a guy even as a sophomore, and so I really enjoyed watching.
I got that on tape too. We'll show that here coming up too.
Yeah, Beckett's got a bright future ahead.
So the Dome will be fun. I'll shoot every game. I'll get my steps in. Jesse and I with Dome Dynasty. So follow that social media. If you don't follow those platforms, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and we're on the Gram as well.
On the Gram.
And
Do it for the Gram.
Kids will be able to check us out on the Gram, and then we'll be putting a lot more of that, retweeting some of that or whatever we do.
Yeah,
here.
let us know what you think, how you think
doing.
these are going to play out too. I mean, if we're throwing our names behind some picks, let's see you do the same a little bit. All right.
Yeah. So we appreciate you joining us on the first Bing Bang
Dome Download.
Dome Download. Is that it?
I like it. Dome Download.
I think we're out. Here's Coach Al Kearns, who was with Coach Thomas most of their career. His perspective on what the award means to the state of Iowa.
But I'm excited every Friday night, every game night. I'm excited to watch you guys play football.
I would want to share with all coaches was that he only saw the best in others. Now that's beyond what I'm saying. That's more than a statement with him. He didn't see the bad things. He would take the kid that was a freshman that some of us would go, what are they doing here? And when they were a senior, he would talk them and he would love them up. And by the time they were a senior, if not before, they contributed. And I think a lot of coaches miss that. And that's every kid. He did the same thing with the managers, with the janitors, every little piece was important, and he only saw the best in others.
Keep them on their heels. Hustle up and get to the huddle. They're getting tired.
That was Ed. And we used to, what's our offense? Hey, diddle diddle, we're coming up the middle. Why don't we just say that? You know what we're going to run. Can you stop us? But it was because of that search for perfection and the things he did with, small high school offensive linemen getting off the ball and getting into you. That was everything. And I'd tell anyone, I think he was the best offensive line coach in the state of Iowa. I couldn't imagine anyone being close. But that's the way he approached things was, okay, what could we have done better? But number one, I learned early when I was coaching with him, we lost a game. And we were coming back, and I said, we practiced this, we told the kids this. And in my thinking at that time, I'm thinking, why didn't the kids do what we told them to do? That seems natural. And he looked at me and said, we're going to meet this weekend, and on Monday, we're going to coach better. Now, I learned something there.
It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. Watch out now. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Everybody watch out. Watch out now. I'm ready for a good time, and I came to groove. The whole band's here, and we came to move. Got a fresh haircut and 2 new shoes. We're here all night like we got nothing to lose. I'm coming out the jacket, cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot, and I can't be beat. Watch out now. Baby, watch out now.